Awesome. So if you're logging in and you have like a broom handle or some sort of pole that's really close and you can grab it, like I just took a broom and I took the broom off and just have the pole while you're settling. If you have something, if you're at home really close, if you don't have something, don't worry about it. You'll get this same benefits. It'll just be a little different. Same but different. That didn't, you know what I mean?
I was gonna say, is there anything besides a broom handle that would work if they don't have a broom handle?
I mean, anything that's like a pole, like, you know, maybe, you know, if you have a PVC pipe, I mean, it's just kind of an odd last minute request. Don't worry about it. If you have something, you know, like a mop, like, you know, I don't know, like a curtain rod, like what, something long in your house or your office. If you don't really, a strap might work, a scarf might work.
Oh, I was gonna say if those bands would work. Those
Yeah, an elastic band might work. Yeah.
that some people have.
I mean, you can do this at the wall too. So you could use a wall. We're just going to be a little creative. And if you don't have anything, you're going to use the floor and we'll figure it out. This is one of the great parts. You can't do this one wrong. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking another hour out of your busy week to come and practice with us. As always, just check around and make sure you're in a safe space. There's no cords or books or slippery magazines or paper you could trip on, okay? So if you have a pole or a strap or a scarf or something, you can just set it down by you. You can also use the wall, and I'll make sure that I give you a lot of cues and a lot of feedback. So if you don't have a poll, please, 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 sorry, it was a really last minute request. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about. As always, we're going to start on our backs. So I'm going to start in that constructive rest pose on your back. Arms can be down by your side, knees bent. If it's a little easier for you and you have tight hips, you can draw your knees together and just let your feet rest together. Spread your feet out a little wider if you need to. And then just give ourselves a little time to feel the shape that we're in, to feel the floor. However you check in with yourself using this time. Starting your practice by checking in. You might find it helpful to be curious about how you're feeling physically. How are you feeling energetically? Noticing how you're responding to your answers. Responding to how your mind might be talking to you right now. And then with choiceful awareness, starting to follow your breathing. So that gentle reminder that we want to breathe in and out through your nose. If you find it helpful, you could put a hand on your chest and a hand on your lower belly. And as you observe and feel your body breathing, I'm going to try and have a little less movement in your upper hand. So the chest naturally will rise and fall, but we want a lighter, easier, softer movement. And then we want to feel the rise of the inhale in the lower hand. And then as you exhale, how the belly button falls or releases towards your spine, towards the floor. So as you're breathing, a little less movement in the upper hand. Inhale, the belly rises. exhaling, the navel draws down. And just seeing here if you can follow without pushing and pulling muscularly. So as you're breathing, it's more authentic and natural from a place of ease, not muscular force or tug. And you might feel comfortable taking just a little longer exhale. So as you exhale, you might pull your exhale a little bit longer and feel your navel draw down a little more. And then finding and feeling the natural rise again with the inhale. So if you're working on feeling a little longer exhale, that pull, again, more from a place of ease, being gentle. We'll take 5 more breaths. And as you're breathing, seeing if you can really feel the residue, the effects of the breath in your lower hand. So as you exhale and your diaphragm releases, your diaphragm slides up, and those cummerbund transverse abdominis muscles that we talk about every Tuesday, they connect and turn on. So when you exhale and your navel draws down, you might also feel that deep hug. You're getting a nice squeeze, an internal hug here. And then with your next full exhale, feeling, there's your exhale. You can take your knees apart if they were together and bring your arms back down. So we're gonna work here just nice and gentle, but strong, okay? So I think sometimes when we think of gentle, we don't always put gentle with strong. So maybe I should say controlled instead of gentle. We're gonna push your pubic bone down and feel what happens in your low back. And then we're gonna go the other way, push your belly button down and feel what happens in your low back. So we move through these 2 movements probably 1,000 times or maybe more through your day without awareness. So right now we're gonna have awareness as we push the belly button down. You might feel your low back, might feel how your tailbone lifts up and you have that posterior tuck. And then if you go nice and slow and really concentrate, feel the control of pushing the pubic bone down, you have an anterior tilt and you get this big compressed low back. So just maybe 2 or 3 more from a place of concentration and awareness, moving for understanding. And then just coast back to that place of neutral, where your belly button is more stacked on top of your pubic bone and your 2 front pelvic crests here are, pretty level, meaning your 2 back hips are pretty level, okay? So then take 2 or 3 breaths and see if you can feel that connection down deep into that transverse abdominis again. So as you exhale, your navel drawing down, feeling that hug through those transverse abdominis muscles, and then taking your inhale. When you feel your next exhale, bring your knees up over your hips. Then we're gonna just try and work proprioceptively. So feeling your body in space, knees stacking more over hips, then draw your knees slowly into your chest and see what you feel back in your low back and your hips again. And then taking your knees forward. See if you can pause where you feel they might be a little more stacked over your hips. And then taking your knees forward. So as you move here a couple more times for understanding, this might feel a little bit like the last exercise where we were doing the pelvic tilts and tucks. So as your knees draw in, you might feel your belly button push down and that posterior tuck. And then as your knees draw back over the hips, you might feel neutral. And then as your knees go forward, you might feel that anterior tilt. Okay. So as you're moving, your spine, your low back, right, is moving. Now, can you resist that? So as you move your knees forward over or away from your hips, and you draw your knees in line with your hips and your knees closer to your chest, can you start to work from a place of resistance, really starting to hold the spine so the spine isn't going to move as much as your knees move, okay? So let's try a couple of those. So moving your knees forward of the hips, resisting movement through the spine and the rib cage. Drawing your knees back to where you feel is neutral, resisting, pushing your low back into the floor. How far can you draw your knees into your chest? Knees back to neutral. Letting your knees go forward, resist. Letting your pubic bone go down so much that your ribs pop up. One more time, knees over hips. Knees start to draw back, resist pushing your belly button into the floor. Try not to hold it through your chest. I notice I'm getting really tight in my chest and my jaw, so you might check in with your chest and your jaw that you're not holding it so much from there. And then as your knees come forward, can you resist your ribs popping up? Keep your back ribs down. And then your choice. Maybe you want one more, or maybe you just want to exhale, bring your feet down. So if you want to try one more, try one more. If you want to break, bring your feet down. And then we'll all meet right back down here in this constructive rest for 3 breaths. So when you get back to constructive rest, reconnect to your body as it breathes. And then it might be really useful to feel the neutral curves of your spine. So you have the back of your head, you have this soft curve in your neck, and then you have another soft curve down here in your lumbar lower back, and then you meet your pelvis. Full exhale. See when you exhale, you can feel your navel just draw down to your spine a little bit naturally, not sucking it in, just let it naturally happen. And then we're going to roll over to your tabletop. So building your tabletop, give yourself a couple moments, right? So we come to hands and knees. We want to look down, make sure that we have really strong hands. And then we're just going to work on strengthening the wrists, waking up a little bit. We're just going to walk the hands back towards the knees, walk the hands out, go wide, be creative. Okay, so as you move around on your hands, remember that we want to keep strength through the spine. Okay, meaning when we're walking, we're not letting gravity pull the spine down or hike the shoulders way up. So sure, your spine is going to move, especially if you're bringing your hands way back. You're going to feel some rounding, some flexion. Maybe if you walk your hands really far forward, you start to feel a little thoracic, backpack, mid-back extension, that's fine. We just want to make sure that it's not from a place of unawareness. We want to make sure that we can feel and we're noticing, we're in control. Maybe you flip your hands onto your knuckles. I'm going to be quiet for a little bit so you can hear your body move, hear your body breathe. You can always flip your arms into wrist extension, going out and into. So let's do maybe 5 more breaths of this. And then when you feel it's been about 5 breaths, come back, build your table. Look down, strong fingers. So if you want to grip the floor a little bit. Okay, strong fingers. You're grounding down. And then we're going to just take your hips, right? Pull them back. So hips drop back. Then stack your hips over your knees. And then bring your hips forward of your knees. 4 more. Hips stack. Hips press back. Hips stack. Hips come forward. So practicing feeling our bodies in space. Really aware, there's my hip. I feel my hip going back, 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 back. Grounding, pressing into the ground, staying nice and strong, hip stacks over the knee. And you feel your hip move forward. Now, adding the movement of your spine. So as the hip goes back, rounding your back a little bit like your cat. Coming forward, hip over knee. You might have to walk your hands forward or wider. Hip comes forward, little bit of cow. Hip goes back, little bit of cat. So moving with control and concentration, trying to stay present in the movement with your breathing. Let's try 3 more. So just going at your own pace. You're the only one that feels this in your body. So noticing what your experience is. Your experience is really unique to you. And so when we move the body, moving so that we understand the movement in our own language, we understand the movement from our own body's perspective. Last one, then we'll come back. We'll meet in your strong table. And then when you get to your table, decide, maybe you're really happy right here and you want to hang out in a tabletop, breathe through your back a little bit. Maybe you want to press back into a child's pose. Maybe you're ready for a downward facing dog. Okay, so picking a shape. If dog, bend your knees, let your hip creases draw back. Nice and wide across the back ribs and the shoulders. Your head can hang. Feel the hands nice and strong, connect up into the arms. All of us, regardless of what our shape is, let's pause and see if we can feel 3 breaths in our body. Try and breathe in and out through your nose. When you feel your next exhale, then we're gonna all start to make our way up to standing. So you can walk your feet up to your hands. If you're in table, coming up, child's pose to table, come on up. All right, so if you have a pole or a strap, grab your pole, okay? If you have a strap, I think it'll work if you pull it pretty tight. If you don't have either one, you're gonna stand really close to the wall, okay? So I'm gonna try in my cool filming way here. You can come close to the wall. And what we're looking for is the back of your head, your mid-back, and your tailbone to come onto the wall. So if you're using the wall, your feet most likely are going to have to step out in front of you. Okay, so this is a demo of it at the wall. And I'm going to come back out on my mat. If you have the pole, you're going to bring the pole behind you. Okay, and look for those 3 points of contact. So you're going to bring the pole behind. So head, your mid-back, and your tailbone. And you're just going to try and hold the pole. Now, if you feel you have to lift your chin way up to get your head to the pole, it's okay if your head's a little forward. This might take months or years to get all 3 points. We're using this more just as a tool to let the spine find more of its neutral curves and just to feel how much strength it takes to keep those 3 points of contact in our awareness, okay? So we're gonna take your feet a little wider. Heels are gonna come in, toes are gonna go out. Okay, so front body, nose, chin, sternum, belly button, pubic bone are stacked up. And we're going to go up and down. If you want to walk away from the wall, you probably have to for this. You could use those front points. Okay. You can take the pole away and use the pole as muscle memory. So it'll be a little more challenging without the pole now. We're going to do 3 more. If you want a little different challenge, can you keep the pole, those 3 points in your awareness and float your heels off the floor just a little teeny weeny bit. So not a whole lot. Okay, next time you come down into your flexion point, pause. If your heels are lifted, pull your heels back to come down, and we're all gonna straighten our legs. And take a couple of breaths. If you're holding the pole, your shoulders might be getting tired, so you can bring the pole down in front of you. Check, see, feel. All right, we're gonna grab the pole one more time. If you're at the wall, using the wall as muscle memory, okay? If you don't have a pole, you can just bring your arms behind you. Put one on your head and put one down on your tailbone. So you have 2 points, okay? Then we're gonna come down into your sumo squat. And then we're gonna fold at the pelvis. So as you tip, trying to keep those 3 points of contact in your awareness. So when you tip from the pelvis, mid-back, and then your head. So the pole really helps us to keep that feeling of the neutral spine as we go. So if you're somebody who tends to talk, you're going to come off the pole right away in that lower back area or in that pelvis, right? If you're somebody who rounds at the shoulders, that's going to affect your head and your mid-back. So let's tip forward one more time. Tip and hold it. Try and feel the back of the head, your mid-back, and your tailbone going into the pole or your hands. Then you're going to hold this shape, take the pole away, and just take the pull out a little wider than your shoulders and just pull out. So elbows pull out, arm bones stay back. Good, then we're going to come all the way on and lift up. Triple flexion bend, Try to keep the awareness of those 3 points on your imaginary pole as you come up. 2 more. And the next time you're down in triple flexion, pole can come down. Straighten the legs, lift the spine, step your feet together. Great. We're just going to put the pole aside or the strap down. Okay. Feet can be a little narrower under your hips. So if it's more comfortable and you feel stronger, more stable with wide legs, go wide. Okay. So muscle memory. You could use the muscle memory from being on the floor or the wall or the pole. See if you can feel the back of your head, your mid-back, your tailbone. It's another way to connect to midline, ears back in line with shoulders, shoulders more so over your ribs, ribs over your hips. Then we're going to take your arms out in front of you and we're going to try and resist moving the spine and the ribs as we open the arms and then we bring the arms out in front. So see how far or wide you can take your arms before you feel the need to push forward in your chest. So we really want to resist this. Try maybe 2 or 3 more. Then when you have understood, oh, this is about how far I can take my arms out before my ribs want to move, we're going to bend one arm up and the other arm down, doesn't matter. And then you're going to take one hand behind your head and one hand into the middle of your back. You're going to go wide and then you're going to flip it the other way. So as you move, you can feel your front shoulders opening. Nice and broad through here. And you keep the awareness of your ears over your shoulders, shoulders over your ribs, ribs over your hips. Another way to say it, back of your head, mid-back, tailbone, belly button stacked over your pubic bone. You want a little more challenge, step your feet wide and do some sumos with the arms. Go at your own pace. We'll be here just a little bit longer. Okay, if taking your arms all the way behind your head and your back is too much, well then stay right here. You can create your own version of this so that you are challenged. Everybody has their own challenge, okay? Meet yourself where you are, do your challenge. Let's try 2 more. After 2 more, come on up. Step your feet together and let your arms just hang. Take a couple of moments, settle, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? My heart's beating really fast. It's hard for me to talk slow right now. Honor your quicker breath, honor your quicker heartbeat. If you're breathing fast or breathing slow, can you still feel the residue of the breath behind your navel? So even though we're standing, you might still feel a little bit of that exhale helping to bring your navel back. As you inhale, feeling the ribs, lower ribs fill with breath. 2 more breaths. All right, let's balance a little bit. So bringing your right heel up. Ears, shoulders, hips. Maybe you were using the pole. Maybe that was helpful. You're going to step your right foot up. Now you're going to step your right foot out in front of you. So look for a point on the ground. And when you step your right foot out, remember your left heel has to lift. So you're going to build your high lunge. So when you build your high lunge, come back to the feeling you had when you were on the floor and we were doing pelvic tilt. So it's really easy here to have your belly button behind your pubic bone, to have your hips tip back. Bring the bowl, the pelvic bowl upright. Come back to however you understand ears, shoulders, ribs, hips in a line, or however you understand those 3 points on the pole. Okay, when you feel you've got that understood in your body, pause and just push your left thigh bone back. You're going to keep that left thigh bone pushing back as you work at bending and straightening your right knee 3 times. So as you bend your right knee, try not to lean way forward like this. Try and keep the pelvic bowl here stacked. If you had the pole, you want to go more in that sense of up and down. And then you're going to pause somewhere for understanding. So when you're ready, pause. Hands can be on your hips. Maybe fingertips come together. Maybe arms come out wide. Maybe you bend the arms, bringing one behind your head, one behind your ribs. Let's all take 3 breaths. With your next exhale, stepping both feet together. Pausing for 3 or 4 or 5 breaths just for your experience. What do you notice? What do you feel? You still feel the breath, the residue of the breath down behind your navel. Maybe feeling a little bit of the residue of the breath in your ribs, in your low ribs, your low back. Second side. Left foot lifts, balance. Come back, maybe feeling of the pole, feeling of the pelvis more upright, belly button over, pubic bone. Lots of options for you to feel midline. Ears, shoulders, left foot steps forward, right heel lifts. Keeping those points stacked as you press your right thigh bone back. Back heel stays lifted, bending and straightening that left knee 3 times. Might help to think of going up and down a little more than pressing forward and back. Next time your left knee's bent, pause. Feeling your body in space. Taking your arms out. Maybe you revolve the arms behind you. Maybe that's not the best move for your shoulders. You can bring your hands to your chest or down to your hips. Feel 2 more breaths. And then step both feet together, 3 breaths. Feeling the connection into your feet. You feel a little more weight in the balls of your feet and your heels. Switch things up a little bit, pick up your left leg. Now you're going to step your left leg back, okay? So you're going to take that left leg back, line yourself back up, give yourself time, build your foundation. Trying to get your ears back over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips. Maybe feeling the muscle memory being at the wall or with the pole. Hands to your hips or to your lower ribs. Can you keep ears, shoulders, and hips in a line, or the feeling of the back of the head and your mid-back and your tailbone on your pole as you tip forward and as you come back up? Okay, so leading from the pelvis, then the ribs and the shoulders. Try to keep the shoulders drawn back a little bit, the chest open. If you round forward, the shoulders are no longer in line with your ribs or your hips. If you want more challenge, this time when you tip, you're going to pause. Okay? If you want less challenge, lower your left knee and come down. Okay? So here, now the arms are going to hang. I bet you know you're going to take them out, Cross one behind the back, one behind your head. Squeeze your legs into your hip sockets. Take 2 or 3 breaths. Even here, when you exhale, can you feel your navel drawing up into your spine? Next exhale, arms come out wide. Then we're going to come up to your high lunge. Straighten that front leg just to your capacity. Balance a little bit. Maybe feel like you were on ice and you had to pull everything in and up. And then when you're ready, step it all together. Shake it all out. All right. So if that was hard on your ankles, stretch them out a little bit. Take a little break. Taking a break's only fair to the second side. When you're ready, come back, stand, ground. Get ready. And when you get ready, try not to compare. All right, so maybe when I say get ready, your mind automatically went to like, oh my gosh, I have to do this on the next side. So try not to compare. Just brand new side, like you've never done this before. Okay? So when you're ready, right knee's gonna lift up. Maybe you lift it really high. Maybe you just keep it low. And your ears, shoulders, hips, and ribs stay in your awareness. In the back of your head, your mid-back, your tailbone be in your awareness. Build your high lunge. Okay, when you build that high lunge, your heels lifted, your hips lift. Hopefully your head is still back in line with your shoulders. If not, notice. You soften across your throat and your chest. And then tipping forward from the hips first. And coming back up at your own pace. You don't have to tip very far forward. Maybe your shoulders, your hips only come a couple inches. Build your projected lunge and pause for a couple breaths. Even here as you're breathing, you feel how when you exhale, your navel draws back a little bit. Okay, if you need it a little easier, no big deal, bring your knee down. Staying in your projected lunge, taking your arms out wide. Hands come behind your head, one behind your back. If this is too much, hands on your ribs, hands on your hips. Check in, 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, bring your hands out, arms come up. If you're standing, working on getting that front leg a little straighter, you're just holding that thigh bone back. Imagine you're on ice. And when you're ready, the weight shifts forward, the right leg steps forward. Hang out, walk to the back of your mat. Pause to feel your body receive the breath. Notice the weight in the feet, the weight in the pelvis. See if you can soften through the front of the shoulders and the throat and the eyes. Sun salutation. Exhale, arms go out to come up. Bend your knees. Remember, we want to resist gravity. You're not just going to fall forward. Bend your knees as much as you need. Inhale, lift your chest. Shoulders can release down out of your ears. Imagine there's a magnet on the wall or on the ceiling, would be even better. And it's going to kind of lift the back of your head and your spine. What if you were here with the pole? And then exhale, bend your knees, fold, and then you're going to walk your hands out, downward facing dog. So you can walk out to down dog or come to table. Bend your knees. And imagine those 3 points of contact on the wall or the pole or the floor. So even when we started, we had the back of the head, your mid back, and your tailbone on the floor. What would it feel like here? Someone were holding a pole on the back of your head, your mid back, and your tailbone. With your next exhale, lowering down to your knees. Pressing back into child's pose slowly. So when you press back into child's pose, notice how your spine changes shape. It's going to find flexion. When you get back, pull yourself back to table. Then as your hips come forward to your knees, your shoulders come forward over your wrists, there's some extension. Now, when you come to extension, I'm coming pretty far forward. Remember, we're not sinking. We're not giving into gravity. We're pushing down, really aware of that strength through the back. Shoulders can stay open, and then we're going to push down back to neutral table, and then all the way back to cat. Cat into child's pose. And we're going to just do this coming forward as far as you can resist gravity without falling. So if you want to push down and even lift your shins up and get into your hamstrings, you can. Going slow so you can really feel that relationship of the hips to the low back all the way up into the upper back, shoulders, and wrists. Let's try 2 more. You don't have to come very far forward. If this hurts your wrists, it's okay. Come on to fists. Most importantly, you're moving from a place of embodiment. You're present with your breathing. You're in your body. Movement is good. We want to understand the movement. We want to feel strong and healthy in the movements that we're making. Pick a place. Maybe it's this place of extension. Maybe it's your tabletop. Maybe it's your child's pose. Each place has its own deep, unique benefits. So go into one of those places. See if you can reconnect to your body breathing. Let's take 3 breaths. In and out through your nose. And then when you feel your next exhale, you're going to either come up to table or find your way onto your back. So you can pull up to table and then come onto your back. Or if you're somewhere it's easy, just roll onto your back. Just like we started, knees bent, arms down by your side. So coming back down, feel the ground for a moment. When you feel the ground, also making that connection that the ground is there to hold you up. So you can try and just let go and know that the ground's going to hold you. Maybe bringing one hand back onto your lower belly. If you find it supportive, a hand back on your chest. So then again, a little less movement in your chest. Now, because the ground is holding you up, you might feel more movement in your lower belly. This is all based on diaphragmatic breathing. So when you inhale, your diaphragm slides down and your belly lifts up. And when you exhale, your diaphragm slides up and then your belly releases towards the floor. And then just softening, releasing where you can. If it's easier, you can bring your arms down by your side. You can keep your feet on the floor. If your back's a little tight, you can draw your knees in and rock a little bit side to side. Maybe doing some hip circles. Maybe just keeping your feet on the floor. Maybe you stretch your legs. Just coming back to your own experience. Feeling, noticing, breathing. We'll just take the next 5 to 8 breaths here in silence. So just coming back to the feel of your breath through your body, noticing whatever it is you're noticing. The relationship of your breath to your mind, to your body. And then with your next exhale, waking up your body physically, just maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes. Maybe one more full body stretch. You're drawing your knees into your chest. We'll just slowly rock over to the easiest side. We'll slowly come on up to sitting. Just pause for a moment when you sit to just one more time check in. How do you feel physically, energetically? How are you responding to those feelings? And we can move through our day with wisdom and mindful self-compassion. Thank you all so much for showing up for another yoga core class.